In our fast-paced and often chaotic world, the idea of letting go can feel daunting, even impossible. We cling to our possessions, our relationships, our desires, and our expectations, believing that they are the foundation of our happiness and peace. However, the Buddhist teachings offer us a profound and transformative principle: letting go. This simple yet powerful concept has the potential to unlock a deeper state of peace, freedom, and inner contentment that transcends the chaos of daily life. Buddhist teachings on attachment and suffering are central to understanding the concept of letting go. According to the Buddha, suffering, or dukkha, arises from our attachments to the impermanent and transient aspects of life. We become attached to people, possessions, ideas, and even our own sense of self. This attachment creates a cycle of craving and aversion, which leads to dissatisfaction and suffering. The more we hold onto these attachments, the more we suffer when they inevitably change or disappear. But what if, instead of holding on, we could learn to release these attachments? Buddha's wisdom teaches that by letting go of our attachments, we can free ourselves from the cycle of suffering. This doesn't mean abandoning love, responsibility, or ambition, but rather recognizing that our happiness does not depend on external circumstances. When we let go of the need to control or possess, we open ourselves to the present moment, to the natural flow of life, and to a deeper sense of peace that arises from within. Letting go is not an easy process. It requires self-awareness, patience, and a willingness to face our fears and uncertainties. It means confronting the discomfort that arises when we let go of things we have held dear. Whether it's a relationship, a job, or a material possession, we often fear that releasing these attachments will leave us empty or lost. Yet, through Buddhist practice, we come to understand that it is precisely in letting go that we find true freedom. The practice of mindfulness and meditation plays a crucial role in this process of letting go. Through mindfulness, we learn to observe our thoughts, emotions, and desires without becoming attached to them. We recognize that these are fleeting, momentary experiences that do not define who we are. Meditation helps us cultivate a sense of inner stillness and detachment, allowing us to witness our attachments without being consumed by them. As we become more mindful, we naturally begin to release our grip on the things that no longer serve us. Buddha also taught that letting go is a path to enlightenment. When we relinquish our attachments, we are no longer trapped in the cycle of desire and suffering. We are free to experience life as it truly is: impermanent, ever-changing, and beautiful in its transience. This understanding leads to a profound sense of peace and joy that is not dependent on external conditions. It is the peace that comes from within, a peace that transcends the fluctuations of the mind and emotions. In letting go, we also cultivate compassion for ourselves and others. When we stop holding on to our own expectations and judgments, we create space for others to be who they are without trying to control or change them. This shift in perspective fosters a deeper sense of empathy and understanding, allowing us to connect with others on a more authentic level. Letting go is not about losing something, it's about gaining everything. It's about freeing ourselves from the shackles of attachment and opening our hearts and minds to the infinite possibilities that life offers. As we practice letting go, we discover that we are not defined by what we hold onto, but by the freedom and peace that comes from releasing it. So, let us embrace the wisdom of letting go. Let us learn to release our attachments, not in fear or loss, but with the understanding that through this release, we are embracing a greater, more fulfilling life. Let us trust in the teachings of the Buddha and open ourselves to the profound peace that lies beyond attachment. In the heart of Buddhist teachings lies the concept of attachment, a fundamental aspect of human experience. Attachment is a natural human tendency. We form bonds with people, possessions, and even ideas about who we are. These attachments can bring us a sense of security, identity, and belonging. However, Buddha's wisdom offers us a profound insight: attachment is the root cause of suffering. This idea is central to the Buddhist understanding of the human condition. The Buddha teaches that attachment arises from our deep-seated desire to possess and control the things we hold dear, believing that they are essential for our happiness. We become attached to our relationships, material possessions, our successes, and even our sense of self. In doing so, we create an illusion of stability and satisfaction. We cling to these external conditions, thinking they will provide lasting happiness. Yet, Buddha's teachings remind us that everything in this world is impermanent, constantly changing. Nothing is static, and what we hold onto today may be gone tomorrow. When we attach ourselves to people or things, we often forget that they are not permanent. Relationships may change, possessions may wear out or be lost, and life itself may take unexpected turns. This creates an inevitable cycle of craving and aversion. We desire what we believe will bring us happiness, but when those things change or disappear, we experience sorrow, frustration, and loss. The more we cling to things, the more we suffer when they no longer meet our expectations. This cycle of attachment leads to continuous dissatisfaction, what the Buddha referred to as dukkha. Letting go, as taught by the Buddha, is not about detaching ourselves from life or abandoning the things that we care about. Rather, it is about recognizing that our attachment to these things, and the need to control them, is what creates suffering. Buddha's path encourages us to release our grip on the things we cling to, not out of detachment from life, but in order to experience life more fully and without the burden of expectation. The goal is not to renounce the world, but to live in harmony with it, accepting the natural ebb and flow of existence. When we let go of attachment, we free ourselves from the constant need to control everything around us. This freedom allows us to experience the present moment with greater clarity and peace. Without attachment, we are no longer bound by the fear of losing what we hold dear. We begin to understand that happiness does not lie in external things, but in the acceptance of life's impermanence and the peace that comes from releasing our need to possess. Buddhist practices such as mindfulness and meditation are essential tools for cultivating the awareness necessary to let go of attachment. Through mindfulness, we learn to observe our thoughts, emotions, and desires without becoming identified with them. We see that these thoughts are transient, like clouds passing through the sky. They are not who we are. This realization allows us to detach from the need to hold onto them and enables us to experience life with a sense of openness and acceptance. Meditation, on the other hand, provides a space to cultivate inner stillness and clarity. In meditation, we confront our attachments directly, whether it's the attachment to our ego, our desires, or our need for control, and begin to see them for what they truly are: temporary mental states. As we practice meditation, we learn to release these attachments and experience the deep peace that comes from within. Through this process, we come to realize that true happiness and freedom are not dependent on external circumstances, but on the state of our own minds. Letting go of attachment is a profound act of liberation. It is the key to breaking free from the cycle of suffering that keeps us trapped in the pursuit of things that cannot bring lasting fulfillment. When we relinquish our attachment to outcomes, people, or possessions, we open ourselves to the boundless possibilities of life. We begin to experience a deeper sense of contentment, one that is not reliant on external factors, but rooted in our ability to accept the present moment as it is. Buddhist teachings remind us that the path to freedom and peace lies not in clinging to what we think we need, but in letting go of the need to possess. By releasing our attachments, we are not losing anything, we are gaining everything. We gain the freedom to live fully in the present moment, to experience life without the weight of expectations, and to find true peace within ourselves. Letting go is not a sign of weakness, but a testament to our strength and wisdom as we align ourselves with the natural flow of existence. Buddhism offers profound teachings on the nature of life, and one of the most fundamental concepts it imparts is the idea of impermanence, or anicca. Anicca is the Buddhist principle that everything in life is transient, ever-changing, and in a state of constant flux. This concept is at the heart of Buddhist philosophy, offering us insight into the very nature of existence. Buddhist teachings on impermanence guide us to understand that nothing in life remains the same, not our emotions, our circumstances, or even the physical bodies we inhabit. Change is an inherent part of life, and the recognition of this can be a gateway to freedom and inner peace. The experience of impermanence is something we all encounter daily, though we often resist it. We attach ourselves to the things we find comforting, whether that be relationships, material possessions, or even the idea of who we are. We believe that these things provide us with stability, security, and happiness. Yet, when these things change, whether due to external forces or the passage of time, we often experience frustration, sorrow, and anxiety. We fight against the natural flow of life, trying to hold on to things that are bound to change. It is this resistance to change that leads to suffering, a core theme in Buddhist teachings. The more tightly we cling to something, the more painful it becomes when it inevitably transforms or disappears. In understanding the principle of anicca, we come to realize that change is not something to fear or resist, but something to accept and embrace. Life will always change. Nothing stays static. Our emotions, our thoughts, our bodies, and our circumstances are all constantly evolving. Instead of fighting this change, Buddhism teaches us to practice acceptance. By doing so, we free ourselves from the grasp of fear and disappointment. When we stop resisting the inevitable and begin to accept the transitory nature of all things, we open ourselves to the possibility of true peace. We learn to let go of the need to control or hold on to things that are outside of our control. The Buddhist teachings on impermanence help us cultivate a deeper awareness of the present moment. When we understand that everything is temporary, we learn to live more fully in the now, without the anxiety of clinging to the past or fearing the future. We begin to appreciate the beauty of each moment as it is, without trying to make it last forever. This awareness encourages us to let go of attachments, because we realize that nothing, whether good or bad, lasts forever. Both joy and sorrow are fleeting, and this understanding allows us to experience life with a sense of equanimity. One of the most transformative aspects of accepting impermanence is the shift in how we relate to suffering. When we resist change, suffering intensifies. But when we embrace the flow of life, we develop resilience in the face of adversity. By recognizing that hardship, like happiness, is impermanent, we begin to see that all experiences, whether pleasant or painful, are temporary. This understanding can relieve us from the burden of clinging to things that we wish to keep unchanged. It allows us to move through life with a lighter heart, understanding that all experiences are part of the natural rhythm of existence. Buddhist practices, such as mindfulness and meditation, are essential in helping us grasp the reality of impermanence. Through mindfulness, we learn to observe our thoughts, emotions, and experiences without attachment or judgment. We see them arise and fade, just like waves in the ocean. Meditation, in turn, helps us cultivate inner stillness and clarity, allowing us to witness the impermanence of all things without being swept away by them. As we deepen our meditation practice, we begin to experience a sense of peace that transcends the fluctuations of our emotions and the ever-changing circumstances of life. The realization that life is impermanent also brings with it a sense of liberation. Instead of fearing change or trying to resist it, we come to understand that impermanence is what makes life precious. Each moment is unique and fleeting, and in this understanding, we find the freedom to live fully. We learn to cherish the present, not because it will last forever, but because it is here, now, in this moment. We stop looking for permanence in a world that is built on change, and in doing so, we discover a deeper sense of contentment. In the Buddhist view, acceptance of impermanence is not passive resignation but an active embrace of life as it is. It is about living in harmony with the flow of existence, recognizing that change is a natural and inevitable part of the human experience. By accepting impermanence, we become free from the fear of loss, the anxiety of change, and the attachment to things that are bound to pass. This freedom allows us to live more authentically, to experience each moment with greater clarity, and to cultivate a sense of peace that comes from within. Through the wisdom of Anicca, we are reminded that life, in all its change and transience, is a beautiful journey to be lived, not controlled. The practice of mindfulness is deeply rooted in Buddhist teachings and plays a crucial role in helping us understand the nature of our attachments and the path to liberation from suffering. In Buddhism, attachment is seen as a fundamental cause of suffering, dukkha, as it leads us to cling to desires, emotions, and situations that are impermanent. Through mindfulness, we learn to observe our thoughts and feelings without judgment, allowing us to step back from our usual patterns of reaction and attachment. This practice enables us to notice the arising of thoughts, emotions, and desires as they happen, without getting caught up in them. By simply observing them, we can begin to detach from the hold they have over us. Mindfulness, when practiced with awareness and intention, becomes a profound tool for letting go. In Buddhist philosophy, letting go does not mean suppressing or ignoring our feelings but rather accepting them as they are and recognizing their impermanent nature. The Buddha taught that all phenomena, including emotions and desires, are transient and subject to change. By practicing mindfulness, we cultivate the ability to observe these impermanent phenomena without becoming attached to them. This practice allows us to experience peace by releasing the mental clinging that creates suffering. For example, when we feel frustration arising, mindfulness teaches us to pause and simply observe it. Rather than reacting impulsively by either suppressing or acting on our frustration, we recognize it as a temporary experience that will eventually fade. This awareness helps us understand that frustration, like all feelings, is not a permanent part of us but a passing phenomenon. In this way, we can learn not to hold on to such emotions, realizing that they do not define us. With continued practice, the grip of these attachments loosens, and we are able to let go of them more easily. The more we cultivate mindfulness, the more we come to understand the true nature of attachment and its role in our suffering. In Buddhist practice, we are encouraged to be fully present in each moment, free from the distractions of past regrets or future anxieties. This presence enables us to let go of our attachments, both to pleasant experiences that we desire to hold on to and unpleasant experiences that we wish to avoid. When we are no longer attached to the outcomes of our experiences, we are able to live in a state of equanimity, where peace and contentment naturally arise. Ultimately, mindfulness is a practice of awareness and detachment, not from life itself, but from the clinging and aversion that cause us to suffer. As we observe our thoughts and emotions without judgment, we develop a deeper understanding of the impermanence of all things. In this understanding, we find freedom, the freedom to let go of attachments, the freedom to experience life without the weight of desire and fear, and the freedom to live in alignment with the present moment. This is the essence of Buddhist mindfulness practice, which leads us toward a life of peace, wisdom, and liberation from suffering. In Buddhism, one of the key teachings is to let go of negative emotions, as they are a source of suffering. The Buddha recognized that emotions such as anger, fear, jealousy, and sadness are natural human experiences. However, he also understood that clinging to these emotions leads to unnecessary pain and distress. According to the Buddha, emotions, like all things, are impermanent, they arise and pass away. The key is not to hold on to them, but to observe and release them with mindfulness and awareness. Buddhist teachings emphasize that emotions, though deeply felt, do not define us. They are transient experiences that come and go, just like the weather. Anger may arise when we are wronged, fear may appear in the face of uncertainty, jealousy may come when we compare ourselves to others, and sadness may emerge when we experience loss or disappointment. These emotions, although powerful, are not lasting. When we learn to accept them without attaching ourselves to them, we allow them to flow naturally and fade away. This is the essence of the Buddhist practice of letting go, not to suppress or ignore our emotions but to acknowledge them fully and allow them to pass without clinging to them. The Buddhist teachings offer a path of acceptance. By practicing mindfulness, we learn to observe our emotions as they arise without reacting to them. Instead of holding on to the anger, fear, or sadness, we can simply acknowledge their presence and let them go. This process does not involve fighting against our emotions or trying to push them away. Rather, it involves understanding that they are impermanent, just like all other phenomena. The more we practice this awareness, the more easily we can release negative emotions and not let them control us. When we let go of negative emotions, we create space for positive qualities such as love, joy, compassion, and inner peace. In Buddhist practice, it is said that when we are free from the burden of clinging to negative emotions, our minds become clear and open. This space within us becomes a fertile ground for positive emotions to grow. When we are no longer weighed down by anger or fear, we are able to experience life more fully and with greater equanimity. Our hearts become more open, and we can connect with others in a deeper, more compassionate way. This is the transformative power of letting go. It allows us to cultivate a heart and mind that are peaceful and free from the disturbances of negative emotions. Furthermore, by letting go of negative emotions, we are not denying the reality of our feelings but instead embracing the truth of their impermanence. Buddhism teaches that everything is in a constant state of flux, and this includes our emotions. We are not meant to identify with our emotions or see them as part of our core identity. Instead, we are encouraged to view them as passing clouds in the sky, temporary and ever-changing. By understanding this truth, we can release the attachment to these emotions and stop allowing them to dictate our behavior and well-being. Through the practice of mindfulness, we can also develop insight into the root causes of our negative emotions. Often, these emotions arise from our attachments, desires, or aversions. By observing our emotional responses with clarity and wisdom, we can uncover the underlying beliefs or expectations that lead to these emotions. This insight allows us to transform the way we relate to our emotions and, ultimately, to the world around us. In conclusion, the practice of letting go of negative emotions is an essential aspect of the Buddhist path. It is not about repressing or ignoring our feelings but about accepting them as they are, understanding their impermanent nature, and allowing them to pass without clinging. By letting go of negative emotions, we create the space necessary for love, compassion, and inner peace to arise. As we cultivate this practice, we move closer to the state of liberation that the Buddha taught, a state of freedom from suffering and a life lived with wisdom, love, and equanimity. In Buddhist practice, the path to inner peace begins with the profound and transformative act of letting go. Letting go, however, is not solely about relinquishing external possessions or situations. It is much more about releasing the internal burdens we carry, those mental and emotional weights that prevent us from experiencing true peace. These burdens often take the form of our attachment to ideas of perfection, our fears regarding the future, and our deep regrets over the past. The Buddha's teachings provide a clear path to freedom from these attachments, guiding us toward a state of true equanimity and inner peace. The Buddha recognized that much of our suffering arises from our relentless desire to hold on, to cling to what we want, to control outcomes, and to preserve our sense of self. This grasping is not only external but deeply internal. We may feel that we need to be perfect, to always meet certain expectations, or to achieve an ideal that we have constructed in our minds. We may live in constant fear of what lies ahead or be weighed down by the mistakes and missed opportunities of the past. These attachments keep us trapped in a cycle of worry and dissatisfaction. In Buddhist philosophy, letting go is the antidote to this suffering. It is not about abandoning responsibility or dismissing the importance of planning and reflection, but about freeing ourselves from the clinging mind that perpetuates suffering. When we practice letting go, we stop being enslaved by the past and stop worrying about the future. We become present in the here and now, embracing the moment as it is without the interference of our desires and anxieties. This practice of being fully present, of experiencing life as it unfolds, is at the heart of Buddhist mindfulness and the key to finding lasting inner peace. By embracing the Buddha's teachings, we begin to flow with life rather than resist it. Life is constantly changing, and we cannot control or predict all the circumstances we face. But we can control how we respond to these changes. Through the practice of mindfulness, we learn to observe our thoughts and feelings without judgment or attachment. Instead of reacting to every thought with fear or desire, we develop the ability to simply acknowledge them and let them pass. We cease holding on to past hurts, regrets, and fantasies about the future. This process of letting go allows us to experience a deep sense of freedom, free from the mental and emotional clutter that weighs us down. The more we practice letting go, the more we realize that our attachments to past and future are the true sources of our suffering. When we hold on to the past, we keep reliving old wounds and regrets. When we worry about the future, we create anxiety and fear about things that may never happen. By letting go of these attachments, we free ourselves from the mental prison that we have created. The present moment is all we have, and when we fully inhabit it, we experience peace and clarity. In Buddhist meditation, there are various practices designed to cultivate the mind's ability to let go. One of the most powerful tools is mindfulness of breathing, which helps us to anchor ourselves in the present moment. As we breathe in and out, we focus on the sensation of the breath, allowing all other thoughts to fade into the background. In this practice, we learn to let go of everything that is not the present moment. We release the need to control, to judge, or to hold on. This simple act of breathing can be a profound reminder that peace arises when we stop resisting what is and accept life as it is, moment by moment. Buddhism also teaches us about impermanence, anicca, the understanding that everything in life is subject to change. Our emotions, our thoughts, our circumstances all are fleeting. This awareness helps us let go of the need to control and the attachment to outcomes. Knowing that everything is transient allows us to hold on to nothing and to embrace the flow of life with open hands. We realize that no moment lasts forever, whether it is filled with joy or sorrow, and in this acceptance, we find liberation. True inner peace is not found in the accumulation of things or in the perfection of our circumstances. It is found in our ability to release the burdens of attachment and to live with an open heart and mind. When we let go of our need to control, when we stop holding on to past mistakes or future anxieties, we create the space for love, wisdom, and compassion to arise. We become more present to the beauty of life, more connected to the world around us, and more at peace within ourselves. In conclusion, the path to lasting inner peace is through letting go. The practice of letting go is a fundamental aspect of Buddhist teachings, and it is a practice that frees us from the internal suffering caused by attachment. By embracing the teachings of the Buddha, we learn to live in the present moment, without clinging to the past or fearing the future. In doing so, we discover a peace that is unshakable, a freedom that comes from flowing with life rather than resisting it. This is the essence of the Buddhist path, and it is the path to true inner peace and freedom.